Hey, what's up? It's Jared with State of Tech. So, the other day, Apple released their new Apple Watch version 5, and that left a lot of us who may have Apple Watch version 4s scratching our heads because there really wasn't a whole lot that was announced in this new version. And a lot of people actually thought that maybe there wouldn't be a new version, which is silly because there's new versions every year. But Apple did announce their Apple Watch 5, and they took the Apple Watch 4 off the menu, but they left the Apple Watch 3. Now, the reason that I'm doing this comparison video is because there's still a lot of places that sell Apple Watch 4s. You can get the Apple Watch 4 at Best Buy, on Amazon, and all sorts of places, and I guarantee for at least a while there's going to be a lot of Apple Watch version 4s available. And just because they aren't selling it directly from Apple anymore doesn't mean that they're not going to support it. The Apple Watch 4 will be supported far into the future, just like the Apple Watch 3 will. And I'll do a video if you are interested on comparing the Apple Watch 3 to the Apple Watch 5, because those are the two devices that will be going forward available only from Apple now. But for those of us that have an Apple Watch 4 and are considering, is it worth upgrading to the Apple Watch 5, or maybe for those of you that have an older version of an Apple Watch and you want a newer version of the Apple Watch but aren't sure if you want to fork out the money for an Apple Watch 5, this is the video for you. So we're going to talk about the differences between the two devices, and you're going to learn that there really aren't a whole lot of differences that matter for most people. So let's jump into those things right now. All right, so both watches are going to be the same exact size. We've got the 40mm and the 44mm watches, and the size really hasn't changed between the Apple Watch version 4 and version 5. Now, not much has changed with the screen either. It has the same screen size, the same OLED, the same 1000 nits for the brightness, so the display hasn't really changed either. There is one thing about the display that's changed a little bit, and we'll talk about that in the next thing here. But as far as the experience that you're going to get from the quality of the display, it's going to be pretty much exactly the same because that has not changed. So there's no differences there so far. Now, of course, the Apple Watch version 5 has the always-on display, and the way that they're able to achieve having a display that's always on is that they've made the display in the 5 operate between 60 and even as low as 1 hertz, which essentially means the amount of refresh that's happening on that display can vary depending on what you're doing. So if you're in an app that maybe has things moving and changing and you're looking at the watch itself, you're going to get that higher 60 hertz refresh rate. If you're looking at a watch face just trying to read the time, you don't even need it to really refresh at all. You just need it to refresh once to show you what the current time is. Even if you have a watch face that has more of the traditional style watch that has a second hand that is moving, that still only really needs to refresh once every second when that hand moves. And so that's a savings right there in battery life that they're able to achieve. And so the always-on display means that your information is always there and available to you without having to kick your wrist up so that the watch knows that you're positioning in it so you can see what's going on. I know definitely there have been many times that I have tilted my wrist, I've gotten no response, and so 3 or 4 times I've tilted my wrist in order to see what's on my watch, and it's just been kind of awkward and annoying. So the always-on display is going to be really nice. Of course, it means that our Apple Watch 5 is only going to get the same battery life that we would get out of our Apple Watch 4, but that's fine. I mean, that's the difference there. So if you don't really care about having that always-on display, maybe you like having this display blacked out from time to time for privacy purposes or whatnot, you don't need the display to be on all the time. I'm sure that's something that you're going to be able to turn off in the Apple Watch version 5, but in the Apple Watch version 4, it's just that way by default. And so you might consider an Apple Watch version 4 because the always-on display is really one of the only big things that's different between the devices. But let's keep going. Now, the performance of both of these devices are going to be a little different. Of course, they're saying the same thing about the Watch 5 as they did the Watch 4, and that it's 2 times faster than the Watch 3. And Apple doesn't talk so much about their chipset that is in these watches watches like they do the chipset that's in their iPhones and iPads. They talk a lot about the A12, A13 Bionic chip that they put in their phones. They don't talk so much about the S4 or the S5 chip that they put in these watches. So the watch version 4 has an S4 and the watch 5 has an S5 chip, of course. They're both 64-bit architecture and they're both supposed to be 2 times faster than what was that came before them. So with that said, we don't really know too much about the performance. I've never felt that my Apple Watch 4 was very laggy. My Apple Watch 2, when I had that version, that was laggy. I felt that that was underpowered, that device didn't really have the performance that it needed. But once they kind of jumped to the Apple Watch version 3, it seemed like things were much faster. And then, of course, with the version 4, things have felt faster than the version 3. But that really could be just the amount of time it takes for an app to load or an animation or something like that. So if you're not a heavy app user on your watch, you're probably not really going to notice too much of a difference at all between the Apple Watch 4 and the Apple Watch 5. Storage is another thing that changed. Of course, on the Apple Watch 4, it gets 16 gigs, and on the Apple Watch 5, you get 32 gigabytes of storage. This is really only going to matter for those of you that are interested in storing a ton of photos or music on your watch. For those of us that do most of our music over streaming, it really doesn't matter. I have this Apple Watch 4 LTE model, and I stream most of my audio using either Apple Music or Spotify. I even stream podcasts through the watch as well. I don't store too much on the watch. And in my use case, 16 gigabytes is more than enough, even for the few things that I would store on the device. However, if you are going with an option that is not, or thinking about going with an option that is not LTE because you don't stream and you're going to be somewhere where there isn't really any Wi-Fi, then you might want to go with the Apple Watch 5 to get that more storage so that you can store more music and stuff like that. 32 gigs by today's standards is still a relatively small amount of storage compared to what you get on phones, but it's more than enough to have apps and a bunch of music on your watch ready to go at any time. So if you want to be more kind of off the grid with your Apple Watch, you probably want to go with the higher storage option, but keep in mind 16 gigabytes is still quite a bit of storage if all you want to do is sync over some photos and enough music to get you through your workout. I touched on battery life a little bit before, saying that they're both pretty much the same. You get that all-day battery life, around 18 hours of battery life for basic usage, which I can attest to. I get up about 4 a.m. in the morning and I wear my watch all night. So I charge my watch before bed so that it's at 100% when I go to bed at around 9 or 10 p.m. I then wear it all night and then wear it to the gym for 2 hours in which it's tracking workouts and stuff like that. And when I come home, I usually have about 75 to 80% battery life left on the watch, which can carry me through the rest of the day until the evening when I then put it back on the charger. Unfortunately, something that we have to do just about every day with our Apple Watches is charge them. And for those of you that aren't leading as much of an active life and don't necessarily need to use workouts and stuff like that, you're going to get even better battery life out of your watch than I will. Of course, I am up for a lot of hours throughout the day and I'm utilizing my device quite often. So that often results in a decrease in battery life for me. Some days I have had the battery run out before I'm ready to put it on the charger before bed. But other times I've had it last well into the next day as well. Now the Apple Watch 5 is going to come with a compass that the 4 does not have and previous models don't have. Of course, previous models have GPS as well, and so the 4 has GPS and you can use the GPS to track coordinates and stuff like that. The GPS has worked relatively well for me when it comes to using navigation. If I go on a hike and I use a hiking app, it does an okay job at maintaining where I'm at and I can go back and see, the path that I took. But the compass that's coming on the version 5 is going to take that a whole different level. Not only are you going to get that ability to track where you are and get decent navigation, it's going to be better because the compass is going to help you orient yourself better and make sure that when you're wanting to go north, that you're going north and not maybe northwest or something like that. So the compass is definitely going to help in a couple of different aspects. I haven't really relied on the compass on my phone too much. The app has been on my iPhone for quite a while, and I really never use it unless I just feel interested in understanding whether something is north or not. And so I think that it's one of those features that not many of us are going to use. And so you really have to look at your use case and how you're going to use your watch. If you don't use your watch standalone for navigation, I mean standalone by it not being connected to your phone, because it's going to pull navigational data and information from your phone if you're using the Wi-Fi version, the Bluetooth Wi-Fi version of the watch. It's going to pull information from your phone. If you're using your watch standalone and you want all of that capability, I might consider the Apple Watch 5 even with the LTE, because you get the compass, you get the GPS, you get the LTE connecting to the cell towers, and all of that is going to provide a very, very exact location, which is going to be good for those apps that you use to track your runs, you track your bike rides, your hikes, and all of that stuff. Of course, the Apple Watch 4 does a great job at this as well, much better than a lot of other watches that are out there, but the compass is going to make it just that much better. So there's also an interesting emergency call feature that is coming to the LTE version of the Apple Watch 5, and that is the ability to reach emergency services pretty much regardless of where you're at. I think they said 150 countries it's launching with, that your watch will be able to reach an emergency service. This is something that your phone can do, but now it'll be available on the LTE version of the watch, and previous versions of the watches don't have that. Of course, if you have an LTE version of a previous watch, you can maybe figure that out if you know how to dial in and you have the appropriate services that are available. But the LTE version of the Apple Watch 5 is going to be able to do that out of the box once you connect it to service, which I think is pretty neat. Now, if that doesn't matter to you, that's a feature that is useless. If you don't travel abroad much, isn't really going to matter, because wherever you have service, you're going to be able to SOS call regardless. So if you're here in the US, your Apple Watch 4 can SOS call already. Your Apple Watch 4 in Canada or whatever other country you have it connected to in is going to be able to SOS. This is mainly a feature for those who do travel and want that SOS functionality on their watch. So lastly, we're going to talk about price. Right now, at the time of me recording this, the prices haven't changed on the Apple Watch 4 yet. I was looking this morning at Best Buy and Amazon and B&H Photo Video, who all have the Apple Watch 4 in stock. The price is definitely going to drop a little bit on that, as I've already started to see with a couple of the variations on Amazon. And the price has always been a little bit better when you buy an Apple Watch through like B&H Photo. I'll make sure to link to all of these below. Amazon is definitely a good option there because you get their great return policy. You can get it shipped to you pretty quickly, easily. And the Apple Watch 4 will probably be available for quite a while, at least until they run out of stock. So you can look at that as an option as well. If you're not looking to invest in the premium priced devices that are the Apple Watch 5 for this year, you could definitely pick up an Apple Watch 4 for a little bit cheaper, and we'll see where the prices go. If you're interested, I'll definitely try and update that in the comment section below as I see some price drops happen. Or if you happen to see a price drop somewhere, share it down in the comment section below as well. You're definitely going to be able to save a little bit of money going with a 4 over a 5, even though the 4 isn't being offered from Apple anymore. But if you're interested in a comparison between the 3 and the 5, I have my 5 on the way, which of course I will be doing some testing and talking about when I have some time to spend with it. But if you want me to do a comparison between the 3 and the 5, I can easily do that, and I'd love to put a video together for that. So if you're interested, let me know down in the comment section below, and also let me know by giving a like to this video. With that said, I hope that you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel here so you can be notified when I do put out new videos. I'll of course have some tips and tricks videos for the Apple Watch 5 coming, and I'll be showing those new features and how they work when I get my watch as well. And you'll need to be subscribed so you get notified when that video comes out. But that's going to do it for today. Thanks so much for checking out the video, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Take care.